and really as a macroeconomist, really looking at what are the macroeconomic implications of that set of conditions. The increase in immigration has had a significant impact in loosening the labor market conditions of particularly lower income cohorts. And that has been an important aspect of bringing down wages and bringing down wages in those groups and bringing down prices overall, nominal spending overall. And so, you have a set of conditions here where you have two policymakers that are, certainly, I think, pursuing meaningfully different approaches on this question, which is, one which is pursuing basically a closed border system, and possibly deportation of currently unauthorized workers, and another that I think on the margin is tightening up, as you note, but isn't necessarily nearly as not anywhere close to as tight in terms of border controls. And so I think that's a real interesting, that's probably that and maybe the Chinese tariffs are probably some of the prospective Chinese tariffs are probably some of the most interesting policy divergences between the two parties. And I think we're going to start to see some implications of those policy divergences probably start to affect markets. Now I think it's interesting. It's certainly notable that the weakness in China, while primarily domestically driven, but the weakness, particularly in external demand for Chinese assets, foreign demand for Chinese assets, has coincided with conversations about how from Trump about his 60% tariff and things like that. That's certainly something that, if the odds become clearer in one direction or the other, that's probably going to start to affect markets pretty quickly.
Okay, and you're saying the main effect is because we don't have a growing labor force since COVID. People have been,
People are retiring.
unable to find workers and fairly unwilling to let them go. Although some tech companies have made cuts. So when it comes to inflation, the wage price spiral is a real important part of it. And you say that if we start mass deportation, who's going to take the jobs? We're going to have
That's right. I mean,
more
it's
of
just you just think about it as, just like there's supply and demand in any market. Labor is just labor prices, which is really wages, right? Wage growth and wages are essentially the clearing price for labor. And so if you remove a supply side, part of the reason why we've had actually we've been able to bring inflation down is because we've actually had a big increase in labor force participation in the last couple of years. That's essentially supply side, right? And without it, unemployment rate would be moving into the low threes, even the high twos, without that labor force participation level being at all-time highs. And so if we remove a significant chunk of labor, that could easily create insufficient labor supply for certain sectors of the economy, particularly lower income cohorts, and companies will have to bid more to get the incremental worker. That's just how it's no different than any other market and supply and demand.